Alright, so in today's video, we're going to learn some tools that are going to help you create a floor plan. I get a lot of requests for help with creating floor plans, and I figured rather than focusing on one in particular, the thing with floor plans, they're all going to use kind of the same tools. So what I'm going to do today is show you some of the different tools that are going to help you create your floor plan, and you can apply these to anything. So you'll have to use a little bit of deductive reasoning on your end to apply this to what you're trying to create, but this will show you everything you need in order to create, hopefully, what you're trying to create. Okay, so a couple things we need to set up to start off. First off, what I recommend you do is come up to the top here once you open your Autocad and hit your show menu bar right here. Okay, that's going to turn on a whole bunch of bars up here that we're going to need later on in this lesson. The next thing you're going to want to do is, if you haven't already done this from one of my earlier tutorials, type in startup, all one word, and hit enter and change it to 1. Okay, what that's going to do is when you hit new, it's going to bring up this nice wizard menu that can be really helpful in creating a ton of different things. And it certainly will let you just quickly switch between imperial and metric and stuff like that. But what I recommend you do is go to the use a wizard option. Okay, and then that's going to allow you either advanced setup or quick setup, up to you. I'll go through the advanced because it gives you a few extra options just to show you what it does. But we're just going to hit OK. This is really useful for architecture, by the way. So when we hit OK, it's going to give us a bunch of options. The difference between advanced and quick setup is you're just not going to get these 3 middle options. And if you don't use these methods of creating things, it really doesn't matter either way. So with units, you can see we can quickly switch to architectural, which is going to change the units to include feet rather than just have fractions. So feet and inches. You can change the precision if you want. There's all sorts of different settings. But I'm just going to stay at the 1/16 because it's not going to matter for this in particular. Then we're going to hit next. And then the next thing is, like, you can customize how your degrees are going to show up. I'm going to leave it on the default again. You can play with these, of course, if you want degrees, minutes, second. Maybe you're watching this because you want to create a topography drawing or something for a surveying company. You can switch to surveyor and you can change the precision here for your bearing. And then we'll hit next. Angle of measure is just going to change where your 0 is. So if you use that command that I've used in other videos, like at a number at an angle of a number to draw a line in a certain length in a certain direction, all this is going to do is change where the 0 is for your degrees. You can change if it goes counterclockwise or clockwise. Default is counterclockwise. We can hit next again, and then the area is going to be your sheet. Okay, so for this one, we're going to say, I don't know, the width is going to be, I'm not going to create anything super elaborate or specific. We'll say the width's going to be 40 feet, and the height is going to be, or the length is going to be, I don't know, we'll say 40 feet again. All right, and that's just going to kind of give your sort of full scale units. All right, so I'll hit finish. That's going to bring me into my drawing. And then if you want to hit F7, or you can come down here and click on it, I'm going to hit F7, and that's going to bring my grid up here. So now that's going to kind of set me up for the next part here. Okay, now there's a couple other setup things that are going to be useful. First off, if you're creating a floor plan, you're going to want to edit your multi-line style, because the multi-line is what we use for walls. Okay, it's a line that has multiple lines to represent the symbol. So there's a couple ways you can do it. You can go up to, now that we have these nice menus, you could go format multi-line style, or the other option would be to type in ML style. Okay, I love to type if you've done my other AutoCAD tutorials. So we'll type ML style, we'll hit enter. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and hit, so you can see here's the default standard wall here. Okay, and then we can come in here and we can hit new. Okay, new multi-line style. Now this is where you would set up your different types of multi-line. So if you have a partition wall, you have an exterior wall, maybe it has siding, maybe it has brick, you would name it specific, you know, like brick exterior or something. Okay, maybe even spell it right, okay, and then maybe say, I don't know, 4 by 6, okay. But for us, we're just going to create a default wall. You use this to how you need it, okay. So we're going to type wall, we're going to hit continue, okay. Now, I like to cap my walls at the end. That's what these buttons do, the line at the end. So I'm going to say I want to cap at the end of the start, and I want to cap at the end of the end. Okay. Then over here, what's my offset of my wall? Okay, so let's say this wall is going to be, I don't know, 10 inches wide. So I'm going to say 5 inches in one direction and -5 inches in the other direction. Okay. And then I'm going to hit OK. And you can edit this however you want, by the way. You have to look at what type of walls you have and how thick they are. Hopefully, if you're working off an exercise, it tells you somewhere. But that's on you, what you want to do there. So we're going to hit OK. There's my preview of my wall. You can see I have a cap on the end and a cap on the start. And then the last thing I'm going to do is, you can see right now current style is standard. I'm going to say I want to set my current to this wall type. I'm going to hit OK. Now I'm going to start to create my wall, okay? And initially, bear with me, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I make sure I can see my whole wall, but Mline is the command, and I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to start at my 0, 0 point. So I'm going to say 0, 0, enter. That's going to start to create my wall, okay? Now, if I zoom out here a bit, you can see I was a little zoomed in and it was a little bit thick. But while I'm creating this wall, actually, and before I even actually create this here, let me show you some other settings you have. So Mline, you can see down at the bottom, we also have justification and scale and style and stuff like that. I'm just going to show you the justification because it's pretty useful. If you type J, it's going to give you 3 options of where you're attached to your multi-line. So if I have top, you can see my multi-line is attached to the top. Okay, I'm attached to the top of that multi-line wall. If I type it in again and I pick 0, I'm going to be right in the middle of it. Okay, and this is again up to you how you want to create your floor plan. But of course, if you have dimensions you're working off of, you might have to do a little math here and there, all right, in order to make that work. And then the last one is bottom. Okay, now I'm attached to the bottom of the wall. They all create the exact same wall, just depends on where I'm creating it from. So if I knew that the exterior dimensions are, say, 40 feet, but I'm creating it from the center, okay, I'm gonna have to subtract the thickness of my wall from my overall dimensions as I create that, okay? So I'm gonna erase these, and then I'm gonna create a multi-line, Mline, and I'm gonna change my justification to top, just because. So now I'm going to type 0, 0 like I did before, and you're going to see my wall starts to be created here. Okay, and I'm just going to create like a basic little floor plan. Let me zoom out so I got a little room. Let's make it, I don't know, 30 feet tall. Okay, so what I recommend you do, you can certainly type things in different ways. If you're making nice vertical and horizontal walls, if you have your object snap on, your polar tracking, and you just kind of move up, for example, and then type in the length you want, 30 apostrophe, if I wanted 30 feet, and hit enter. Now I've created that wall at 30 feet. You can see I'm attached to the top of that wall. The other thing I could do is I could type in my coordinates, okay? So if I wanted this to be over here at 30 feet in the Y, but say, I don't know, 20 feet in the X, I could go 20 feet, comma, 30 feet. Oh, I think I even messed it up a little bit. Yep, a little mess up there. All right, so I could go 20, all right, feet, and then hit a comma, and then I could go 30, and then feet again. Oh, did my math backwards. So I'm just actually gonna move this way, make it a little bit easier. All right, 20 feet. I'm just going to hit enter, and now that thing's 20 feet over. You can see why I do it that way. I don't have to figure things out quite as much. All right, and then I'm going to come down here, okay? And I'm going to try and line up with this guy over here. All right, and let's see what this would be. This would be 20 feet, 0. Okay, so let's go 20 feet, comma, 0. Ah, it's snapping from, that's why. That's okay. So I'll just come back over and close this up and hit escape. Okay, and you can see now I've got my little wall there all attached. Actually, I haven't quite connected properly. Okay, so I have my walls here. All right, now I'm going to show you one other handy tool. Okay, so if, let's say for example you want to create a wall at a certain distance from another wall. Okay, once you hit that show menu bar, okay, that's going to give you this tools drop down, which gives you toolbars, and these are all the different AutoCAD toolbars. One that's really useful for floor plans is Object Snap. All right, and with Object Snap, what we can do, and just, you know, it's going to pop up probably somewhere in the middle. You just grab these two lines, you can drag it wherever. I like to just kind of dock it up here by my drawing. All right, and what that's going to allow you to do is I can now go M line. All right, and then I could go in and pick this snap from button. Okay, snap from, and that'll allow me to say pick like this point, okay, to snap from, and I can say that my new wall, let's say, is like 10 feet down. Okay, so I'm going to say, well, in the X it's 0 feet, and then comma negative 10 feet. Ooh, that's way below it. Okay, let's try that again. Snap from, oop, gotta go into my command again. Snap from, I can come down here, pick this, and then I could say my offset's going to be 0, comma, 10 feet. And now you can see I'm attached 10 feet up from there. And then I just come over however far I want, 10 feet. All right, and then I'll just hit escape to end that wall. Okay, now from here, you have a couple different options for editing this thing. Okay, we have these different walls that are overlapping. Okay, now there's a couple options, and one of them can be a little bit glitchy. Okay, once you start editing things and lines move around and stuff, but I'll show you that one first. So ML edit is one of them, multi-line edit. When I hit enter, it's going to give me these different edit tools. Okay, so if I want like a corner joint, I can go down here and pick this and pick that, and it'll trim it to create a nice corner joint. Okay, if I hit spacebar again and I say, I don't know, I want a, let's go with a merged T. This can be a little tricky. So we'll go here and here. Oop, see, that's where it gets a little tricky there. So I want to keep that. I want to trim away this guy. Yeah, it's not going to work for me. Let's try this one more time. Yeah, it's going to give me some corners. Okay, so a lot of times what I end up doing, it's not usually how I do it, but the way I usually do it is after I have all my different lines in, is I'll go explode all, and that'll separate it all into different lines. And then what I can do is just go in and trim with TR, trim away this, trim away this, trim away this, and it works the exact same way. Okay, now the only other thing you're probably going to need to do in a floor plan is maybe put in like windows. So what I recommend you do for the window is build your window or build your different windows on the side and bring them in as blocks. Okay, if you have like a block library you can drag them from, that's really great too. But what I would recommend you do is kind of build it on the side and drop it in. All right, so you could do it in a number of different ways. If you know the size of your window, you could create it with a wall, you create it with whatever. So like for example, if I wanted to create this, and let's say my window was, I don't know, 5 feet long, I could then hit escape and explode this thing. Now it's going to be separate lines. And then I can go ahead and create whatever I want my window to be. So I don't know, maybe there's like you know, a little offset from the side. We'll go more than that. Let's go like 6 inches. But usually you're going to be importing these from some sort of library. So maybe your window is something like, let's see, how thick did I make my wall? That, maybe a little trim. Now I've got my little window here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of like copy it like so. Pick my little drop in, and then wherever it is on my wall, so like if let's say it was like, I don't know, 3 feet over from here, I could say offset 3 feet, offset this over, and then I could go move M, pick this whole thing. All right, hit enter, pick my displacement point, bring it right up, drop it right in there. Okay, and then just get rid of this line afterwards. And now my window is in location where I wanted it. Okay, so this is also why you would usually copy it, move it over and over again. If you had a bunch of different windows, just find all your spots, okay, in whatever way you want to, and just drop them in. One of the ways to do it. Okay, there's a bunch of different ways people might do that sort of thing. Totally up to you. If you're building things like bathtubs and stuff like that, usually you have a size, so you can do some sort of shape command or something like that. That'll do that for you. So here's my quick tutorial on how to make a floor plan. Hopefully it helped you out. You can see sometimes some things don't work exactly the way you want them to, but at the end of the day, it's not the most complex thing in the world. You can really apply this to create any sort of floor plan. One big recommendation I have is don't explode things until you get all the way at the end, okay? Don't explode in the meantime, because you might not get the same interactions with different things as you had prior to doing that. Okay, so I hope this helps you, and I appreciate the folks who ask me to create these videos. Have a good day.